Aging is an art, and like any art, it requires practice, patience, and a touch of wisdom to stay grounded through the process. Over the years, we may have gained some wrinkles and maybe a few aches and pains, but we've also gained something much more valuable, the opportunity to live more meaningfully and focus on what truly matters. But let me ask you, how do we navigate this stage of life without losing our peace of mind? How can we grow older without becoming bitter over things we can no longer control? Today, I'm bringing you 19 Stoic principles that will help you live this phase with dignity, humor, and above all, wisdom. Yes, age brings its challenges, but it also brings the chance to stop worrying about trivialities and focus on what truly matters. If you want to learn how to embrace this stage of life without fear and with greater freedom, stay with me. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stay until the end, because we're going to explore how to age wisely in true Stoic style. Let's begin. 1. Choose inner freedom. Yes, I know it sounds nice and philosophical, but what does it really mean? Well, picture this. At this stage in life, you have two options. You can keep getting frustrated when things don't go as planned, like that knee pain that won't go away, or the family gathering that always ends in drama. Or you can start letting go. Because let's be honest, we can't control everything that happens out there. You can't decide if it'll rain, if traffic will be a nightmare, or if that neighbor who's always complaining will finally move. What you can control, and here's where true freedom lies, is how you choose to react to all of it. As we get older, many of us realize that this ability to let go is the key to living in peace. Fewer things bother us, and what used to drive us up the wall now just becomes part of the scenery. This isn't resignation, don't get it wrong. It's more like saying, look, I'm not going to waste my energy on things I can't change. I'd rather invest it in what actually matters. Epictetus explained it clearly. It's not what happens to us that upsets us, but our opinion about what happens. Isn't that liberating? If you can learn to change how you see things, you become basically invincible. Does it matter if someone disagrees with you? What changes if the news is bad? What matters is your response, your attitude toward these situations. That's where your power lies. That's where your freedom lies. Think about it. How many times in life have you felt like something was out of your hands and you exhausted yourself mentally over it? Now, with years and experience, you know better. You know you can choose not to get caught up in what doesn't deserve your energy. That's inner freedom, and it's priceless. No one can take it from you. And believe me, when you start living from that calm center, everything changes. Arguments become less significant, problems seem less severe, and ultimately, you feel so much lighter. Because aging wisely means, among other things, learning to let go of what you can't control and focusing on what truly depends on you, your thoughts, your emotions, your attitude. 2. Time is your greatest treasure. And no, this isn't just one of those feel-good phrases without depth. Really, if there's one thing that becomes increasingly clear as we age, it's that time is the one thing we truly have. Money comes and goes, material things pile up and fade away, but time, my friend, once it's gone, there's no getting it back. Now, I know what you're thinking. Gabriel, I get it. Don't remind me how quickly time flies. I'm living it every day. And it's true. At this point, we know it. We feel it when we see our children grow, when our faces change in the mirror, when those endless days of youth slip further and further away. But here's the thing. Knowing that time is limited isn't enough. What matters is how you use it. Marcus Aurelius, Stoic emperor and philosopher, put it well. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard carefully what you allow yourself to think. In the same way, The quality of your life depends on how you choose to spend your time. How many times have you spent hours worrying about things that didn't matter? How many afternoons have slipped away in distractions, forgetting those moments aren't coming back? Now is when we most need to be mindful of how we're spending the time we have left. This doesn't mean life should be all work and no play. We need enjoyment too. But it does mean that every minute counts, and we can't afford to waste it on what brings us no value. Remember those days that seemed endless? Now they fly by. And it's becoming clearer than ever that the small things, those conversations, those quiet moments, are what truly give life meaning. So here's the key question. How do you want to spend the time you have left? Because life is really about that, choosing how we spend our minutes. Are you going to keep worrying about things you can't change, or will you dedicate your time to what truly matters? Think about it. It's not about obsessing over the clock, but about knowing what you genuinely value. Seneca said it well. It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. And now, at this stage, we can't afford that luxury. Make the most of what you have and ensure that each moment brings you closer to the life you truly want to live. Because in the end, life isn't measured in years, but in moments well lived. 3. Challenges make you wiser. Think about it for a second. When have you learned the most in life? When everything was going smoothly, or when things got tough? Exactly. The real lessons come during those times when life gives you an unexpected push or even a low blow. And here we are, at a stage in life where these challenges aren't surprises anymore, but rather familiar visitors. The trick is in how we welcome them. As we age, challenges don't disappear. In fact, some become even more complex. Before, you might have worried about work, young children, or bills. Now, challenges might come in different forms. Health that isn't quite the same, relationships that have evolved, the loss of loved ones, or even reflecting on what you've done with your life so far. But here's the thing, each of these challenges has something to teach you. Marcus Aurelius, with all his Stoic wisdom, put it this way: the obstacle in the path becomes the path. In other words, what seems to block you is actually the lesson you need. Maybe you used to get frustrated when things didn't go as planned. Now it's different because you've learned that these obstacles aren't enemies, but opportunities to make you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Have you noticed how certain difficulties have shaped you? Look back and think of those times you felt overwhelmed or lost. And yet, here you are. You overcame each one. And best of all, you learned something along the way. Maybe you learned to be more patient, to have more compassion for yourself, or to not take everything so seriously. And if you haven't learned that yet, there's still time. Because aging wisely doesn't mean avoiding problems. On the contrary, it means accepting and facing them head-on, with the confidence that every challenge brings an opportunity for growth. It's no longer about winning every battle, but about understanding that some battles are there just to teach us to fight differently, to be more strategic, to know when it's best to simply let go. So the next time life places an obstacle in your way, try seeing it differently. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Because what challenges you today will be the source of your wisdom tomorrow. And that, my friend, is the true gift of age, the ability to see each problem as a lesson that, if accepted, will take you to a better place. 4. Be brave in the face of change. Let's be honest, change is inevitable. Like it or not, life keeps moving, and as we age, the changes become more noticeable. Your body changes, your surroundings change, your relationships change. But here's the thing. It's not the change itself that scares us the most, but our resistance to it. Think back to when you were younger. How much did you fear the unknown? Maybe you didn't admit it, but it was there. That feeling of uncertainty that comes with each new stage of life. Now, with 50 or more years under your belt, you've lived enough to know that change is not the enemy. The real issue is when you try to cling to what no longer is, like when you try to live the way you did 20 years ago and your body says, "Friend, this isn't our thing anymore." Or when you insist that things should be as they were when life seemed simpler. But the truth is that resistance only leads to frustration. Epictetus had a brilliant insight on this. It's not the events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. And what is change if not an event? It happens. What matters is how you face it. You can choose to see it as a threat, something that takes away who you were or what you had, or you can see it as a new opportunity, because change, when you embrace it, gives you the chance to renew, to adapt, and to grow. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. We all feel nostalgia for what we used to be or do. But here's the truth. Life doesn't stand still, and neither should you. What worked for you 20 years ago might not serve you today, and that's okay. What you can do is be brave and accept that change is part of your evolution. This isn't about surrender or resignation. It's about adaptation. Embracing changes in your body, in your abilities, in your surroundings isn't a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. Because when you accept change, you stop fighting reality and start working with it. And that's when you truly win. So the next time it feels like the world is changing the rules on you, instead of resisting, accept the challenge. Remember, you're not on the same page of life as you were 20 years ago, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's liberating, because rather than clinging to what's gone, you can focus on what's ahead and make the most of this new stage. Be brave in the face of change, because it's there precisely that you'll find your greatest growth. 5. Appreciate what you have now. Seriously, stop for a moment and think, how much time have you spent in life wanting what you don't have? That bigger house, that easier job, or even something as simple as wishing your body were like it was when you were 30. Here's the big truth. Desire is a bottomless pit. No matter what you achieve, there will always be something else you want. But what truly transforms your life is learning to value what you already have right here and now. Gratitude may sound like a cliché, but it's a powerful tool. As we age, it becomes clearer that not everything in life can be achieved or regained. Instead of obsessing over what we lack, we can start focusing on what we've already accomplished, what we've experienced, and what we still have. Seneca, the great Stoic thinker, put it clearly, it's not the person who has little who is poor, but the one who wants more. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your life. But if you're always focused on what you don't have, how are you going to enjoy what you do have? That peaceful time with family, those conversations with friends, the accumulated experience that gives you a unique perspective. All of that is valuable, and if you don't appreciate it, you're missing out on the best parts. Think about it. How many times have you only realized how important something or someone was once you lost it? That's what we want to avoid. Gratitude isn't just about being positive or putting a pretty filter on life. It's a practice that helps you live more fully. When you learn to appreciate what you have right now, you stop chasing after ghosts and start living more peacefully. Here's a direct question. Have you recently stopped to be grateful for what you have? Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not what you imagined years ago, but it's what you have now. And the more you appreciate it, the more you enjoy life as it is, instead of how you wish it would be. Aging wisely means understanding that life will never be perfect, but it can always be beautiful if you learn to see it the right way. So the next time you catch yourself dreaming of something you don't have, stop and ask, what do I have today that I can value more? Because in the end, true wealth isn't in what you accumulate, but in how you live with what you already have. If you're enjoying this video and feel you're discovering new ways to apply Stoic wisdom to age with more serenity and strength, I invite you to subscribe and hit the like button. That helps me keep creating content that truly adds value to your life. And don't go just yet, because the most important part is still to come. If you're committed to finding balance and living this stage with greater clarity, the final reflection might offer you a totally new perspective. And tell me, from where in the world are you tuning in? I'd love to know. Stay until the end, because Lesson 10 might completely change the way you face the challenges of this stage and reconnect with yourself. Let's continue. 6. What you control is what matters. By this point in life, we've come to realize that not everything is under our control. In fact, much of what happens to us is completely out of our hands. The weather? You can't change it. Other people's decisions? You can't control those either. And the physical aches and pains that come with age? Yes, those too are part of the package. But what you can control is your attitude towards all of it. And trust me, that's where the real game is played. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic sages, taught us something crucial. It's not the events themselves that affect us, but rather the way we choose to react to them. This insight is freeing, because it means that while you may not be able to control what happens around you, you can decide how you interpret it and how it affects you. That's where your true power lies. Think about it. How many times have you lost your peace over something completely out of your control? Maybe it was a loved one's behavior, a misunderstanding with a friend, or even world events. It's frustrating, I know. But now, with over 50 years behind you, you've likely gained the wisdom to recognize that fighting against the unchangeable leads nowhere. It only creates more anxiety and discomfort. What you control is simple: your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions. That's it. And it's no small thing. When you focus on what you can control, you stop wasting energy on what's beyond your influence. Instead of feeling frustrated because something didn't go as planned, you can decide how to adapt to the situation. Instead of getting upset because someone did or said something you didn't like, you can control your response and choose whether it's worth engaging. Here's a simple example. As you think about the physical changes that come with age, you recognize that you can't stop time, but you can decide how to care for your health, what habits to adopt, and how to face these changes. You have control over how you take care of yourself, not over aging itself. And in that acceptance lies the key to living more peacefully. Accepting that you can't control everything isn't defeat, it's liberation. Because once you understand this, you stop wasting time worrying about what you can't change and start focusing on what is within your reach. Instead of fighting against the current, you learn to navigate it with greater serenity. So next time something doesn't go as expected, ask yourself, is this under my control? If the answer is no, let it go. If it's yes, then act. But always remember that your true power lies in how you choose to live with what you have, not with what you lack or can't change. In that conscious choice lies your freedom. 7. Self-discipline brings you peace. I know, self-discipline doesn't sound particularly exciting, but when you truly understand it, it's one of the most powerful keys to living in peace. And now, in this stage of life, with more than 50 years of experiences behind us, self-discipline becomes even more important. It's not about keeping rigid schedules or being hard on yourself. It's about having control over your decisions so that you can live in line with what truly matters to you. By now, you know life is full of temptations, from the urge to stay in bed all day to that delicious food you probably shouldn't eat so often. But how good it is, right? And sure, why not indulge? You've worked hard. You deserve to enjoy yourself. But here's the catch. If you give in to every impulse, you eventually lose control, and with that, you lose your peace. Self-discipline isn't about punishment or depriving yourself of what you enjoy. On the contrary, it's about learning to find balance so you can enjoy life without the negative consequences. Epictetus put it perfectly. No one is free who is not master of themselves. And this is key to aging with serenity. True freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like at any moment. It's being able to choose what's best for you in the long run. Think about it. How often have you felt better for doing something you knew you should do rather than just what you wanted to do? Choosing to take a walk even when you're tired, or saying no to that dessert because you know you'll feel better for it tomorrow. These little victories give you a sense of control over your life, and with that control comes peace. Self-discipline isn't only about physical choices, it's also mental and emotional. It's learning to control your reactions, not letting minor setbacks ruin your day. It's choosing to respond calmly instead of getting into an argument. It's deciding when to speak up and when silence is wiser. All of this is self-discipline, and while it sounds simple, it's an art that takes practice. Here's the best part. The more you practice self-discipline, the easier it becomes. It becomes a habit, and over time, you stop seeing it as a struggle. It's like training a muscle. At first, it's hard, but eventually, you find you're capable of more than you imagined. So the next time you feel that pull toward the easy route, the quick pleasure, ask yourself, will this give me peace in the long run? Because at this stage in life, serenity is the real treasure. And while self-discipline may feel like a sacrifice, it's what will lead you to live in harmony with yourself, knowing that each choice brings you closer to the life you truly want. 8. Suffering is optional. Yes, you read that right, because pain, that is inevitable. Reaching this stage of life comes with certain pains, some physical, others emotional. Losses, farewells, and of course the body that doesn't respond as it once did. That's pain, and we all experience it in one way or another, but suffering, that's something you choose. And here's the key, you can choose not to suffer. I know this might sound a bit harsh. What do you mean suffering is optional, Gabriel? Don't you see what I've been through? I do see it. And I also see that what often torments us the most isn't the pain itself, but the habit of dwelling on it, of holding on to what happened or what's no longer there. And that, my friend, is suffering. Epictetus said it plainly. It's not the events themselves that affect us, but the opinions we form about them. Think of pain as an unexpected guest. It arrives, uninvited, and hits you hard. You can't prevent its arrival. But what you can prevent is letting it stay. Suffering is when we allow that pain to settle in, when we open the door and say, get comfortable, stay as long as you like. And the worst part? We're the ones who hand it that invitation. Here's the truth. Pain is real, but what you do with it is entirely up to you. You can choose to cling to what's already happened, to what you've lost, and replay that pain over and over again. Or you can accept that pain was part of your life, but it doesn't have to define your present or future. Letting go of suffering doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring what hurt you. It means learning to live with it without allowing it to ruin the days you still have ahead. This applies to all types of suffering, whether it's nostalgia for who you once were physically, regrets over missed opportunities, or grieving a loved one who is no longer here. All of that hurts, and it's natural that it does. But there's a difference between feeling the pain and staying trapped in it. And here, in this stage of life, is when we most need to learn that difference. Seneca put it well, suffering is more to be feared than the pain itself. Because while pain is temporary, suffering can last a lifetime, if you let it, and you have the power not to. So when pain comes knocking, because at some point it will if it hasn't already, acknowledge it, accept that it's there, but don't make it a permanent guest. Accept pain for what it is, an inevitable part of life. But set suffering aside, because that only prolongs the pain and steals the peace you so rightfully deserve. 9. Happiness is in the present. Yes, I know, it's a phrase we've all heard 1,000 times, but the real question is, how often do we actually live it? At this stage of life, many of us are still caught up in the past, rehashing what we did or didn't do, or projecting ourselves into a future we don't even fully control. And meanwhile, what's happening to the present? Exactly, it slips away. There's something curious about happiness. It always seems to be around the corner, just in what's coming next. I'll be happy when I retire. I'll be happy when my kids are settled. I'll be happy when I achieve this or that. The problem with that way of thinking is that we're constantly postponing happiness. We keep pushing it forward as if it's something that will arrive someday in the future. And the truth, my friend, is that the future is as uncertain as that list of New Year's resolutions that we never quite accomplish. Marcus Aurelius, that wise Stoic emperor, put it like this: you could be a good person today, but instead you choose tomorrow. The same goes for happiness. You could be happy today, but you leave it for tomorrow. Here's the key. Happiness doesn't happen because everything is perfect. Happiness is something you choose right here and now with what you have and what you don't. If you're waiting for everything in life to be perfectly in place to be happy, I have news for you. It never will be. There will always be something missing. Something that could be better. Something that didn't go as planned. So how do you live happiness in the present? It's simpler than it seems. It starts with noticing what you already have right now while you're watching this video or listening to these words. What around you can you appreciate? Maybe it's the health you still have, those relationships that have stood the test of time, or even the simple fact that today you had a moment of peace without any rush. That's the present. That's happiness. Because at the end of the day, what good does it do to worry about things you can't change, or that haven't even happened yet? The only real thing is this moment and what you choose to do with it. Maybe the past wasn't perfect, and the future, well, it's uncertain. But the present is yours, and it's filled with possibility if you allow yourself to see it that way. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by events, but by their opinions about them." And that's exactly what we do with the present. We spoil it by thinking it should be different, when in reality, if we just stop to enjoy what we already have, we'd find happiness right here. So next time you catch yourself thinking about how things could be, or what's already past, take a pause. Ask yourself, what in this moment can I enjoy? Because happiness isn't a distant goal, it's not waiting in the future, and it's not buried in the past. It's right here, in this very instant, and it's up to you to recognize it. 10. Reflect on your life each day. Yes, just as you heard, at this stage in life, taking a few minutes to look inward isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. How can you be sure you're living the way you truly want to if you never pause to think about it? It's easy to get lost in routines, letting the days pass by as if on autopilot. But aging wisely means doing that regular check-in, adjusting course as needed, and being honest with yourself. Have you ever ended a day and thought, what did I do today that really mattered? If you haven't, now's the time to start. And don't worry, this doesn't mean spending hours meditating in some remote retreat, unless that's your thing. Just a moment at the end of the day to ask yourself how you lived, what decisions you made, and what you could do better tomorrow can make a huge difference. Marcus Aurelius, a busy guy, being the emperor of Rome and all, took time each night to reflect. He would write about what he did well and what he could have done better. If he could do it, why can't we? It's not about writing a long journal entry, but rather having the courage to look yourself in the mirror, not to criticize, but to learn. Each day is an opportunity to adjust, to correct, to be a bit better than you were yesterday. Because let's be honest, life rarely goes exactly as planned. And often it's not that we don't know what to do, it's that we forget to ask ourselves if we're heading in the right direction. Reflection doesn't mean getting stuck in the past. It's about using the past as a tool to improve the future. It's a chance to ask the hard questions. Am I dedicating time to what truly matters? Am I being the person I want to be? Am I taking care of myself and others? Reflection isn't about self-criticism, it's an opportunity. It's about looking at yourself honestly and saying, all right, today I did this, but tomorrow I can do even better. And that's one of the greatest freedoms we have, the ability to change, to adjust, to be conscious. Seneca said, "Nothing helps us live a full life as much as reflection." And he was right. If you take the time to reflect daily, you won't get lost in small frustrations or in problems that seem huge. Instead, you'll learn to focus on what truly matters. So next time you sit down to rest at the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do today that mattered? What choices did I make that brought me closer to the life I want? And what can I do tomorrow to improve a little more? Because aging with wisdom doesn't mean having all the answers, it means asking yourself the right questions. And if you do this every day, bit by bit, you'll move closer to the version of yourself you truly want to be. Aging with wisdom isn't just about accepting the passage of time, it's about learning to live better with what we've gathered along the way. Experiences, lessons, challenges overcome, and the clarity that comes when we stop resisting the inevitable. It's realizing that true wealth lies not in what we've gained or lost, but in how we choose to live each day, with intention, gratitude, and inner peace. Because in the end, what we value most isn't what we possess, it's what we do with the time we have left. Together, we've explored 19 principles that, if applied, can transform not only how you age, but how you live in the present. It's not about having all the answers, it's about knowing how to ask the right questions, reflecting, adapting, and continuing to grow until the very end. Remember, aging is not a burden, it's an opportunity to dive deep into what truly matters, to connect with ourselves and those we love, to live with serenity, without unnecessary attachments or chosen suffering. Every day is a gift, and the greatest act of wisdom is to make the most of it with full awareness. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time on the channel, I invite you to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming topics we'll be discussing. And if you've made it to the end, it means you're truly committed to your personal growth, and that deserves recognition. So to know who stayed with me to the very end, comment with the phrase, "I'm a Stoic," and tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to know which part of the world you're tuning in from and who's walking this path of self-discovery with me. And before you go, don't forget to share this video with someone who might need these words today. Sometimes, a simple piece of advice can make a big difference in someone else's life. See you in the next video.